Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that tries to, cut through all that information overload and give you some real insights just for you. Look, if your days feel like you're constantly scrambling, that inbox just never empties, the to-do list just keeps growing, you're definitely not alone. It's that feeling, right? Being totally swamped. You check one thing off and boom, 3 more things just pop up. So today we're jumping into a book that, honestly, even though it's been out a while, feels incredibly relevant right now, is Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog. Cool. Great title, isn't it? And the promise is big. 21 great ways to stop procrastinating and get more done in less time. The whole idea comes from that Mark Twain quote. You know the one. If you eat a live frog first thing in the morning, the rest of your day is basically downhill from there. So your frog, according to Tracy, is that really big important task, the one you're most likely to put off, yeah. But it's also the one that could have the biggest positive impact on, everything. Your work, your results, your life.
Exactly. And that's why this deep dive feels so necessary right now. It's not really about just doing more, piling on more work. No, it's about changing how you think, how you approach your day, how you handle all those responsibilities so you actually feel in control. And what Tracy really hammers home is this: the ability to pick out your most important task right then and there and then just get it done quickly.
Yeah.
Well, that single skill, he says, it's the key factor for success, both professionally and personally. It's moving from just being busy, spinning your wheels, to actually being effective.
That reframing is huge. And Tracy gives us these 2 core rules for eating frogs right off the bat.
Yeah.
They really cut through the clutter. First one, if you have to eat 2 frogs, eat the ugliest one first. Meaning if you've got a couple of big tasks staring you down, don't do the easier one first. Go for the biggest, toughest, most important one. Get it out of the way.
Tackle the beast.
And the second rule is even more direct. If you have to eat a live frog at all, it doesn't pay to sit and look at it for very long. You'll just stare at it. And this isn't just about being efficient, is it? It's the psychological win. Imagine just getting that monster task done. The relief, the energy. Tracy actually says completing a big task releases endorphins. You get this natural high. He even calls it a positive addiction to success.
It's fascinating, that psychological angle, that immediate win, that chemical reward in your brain. It creates this loop, doesn't it? It makes you want to do it again. And the really empowering part is Tracy insists these aren't personality traits you're born with. Not at all. They're skills. You can learn them. Like any skill, though, it takes practice. He boils it down to 3 things: decision, discipline, and determination. You decide to do it, you build the discipline to practice, and you find the determination to stick with it until it's second nature.
Okay, so if we can learn this stuff, where do we start? Let's dig into that first big step Tracy calls set the table. For me, this boils down to clarity. Absolute clarity. You can't hit a target you can't see, right? Simple as that. And there's this statistic in the book that just blows my mind. Only about 3% of adults have clear, written goals. But that tiny group, they achieve 5 to 10 times more than people who are just as smart, maybe even smarter, but don't have those written goals.
Wow. That's significant.
Isn't it? It's not about raw talent. It's about knowing exactly where you're going. So Tracy gives this 7-step formula. It's pretty straightforward. 1, decide exactly what you want. Crystal clear. 2, write it down. Get it out of your head. 3, set a deadline. Maybe sub-deadlines too.
It takes it real.
Exactly. 4, list out everything you need to do to get there.
Yeah.
5, organize that list into an actual plan. 6, take action. Immediately. Do something, anything, right away. And 7, just resolve to do something every single day that moves you forward.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that Stephen Covey quote, make sure your ladder is leaning against the right building before you start climbing.
That clarity is definitely the first domino. Yeah. And once you have that, the next piece is plan every day in advance. This is where his 10-90 rule comes in. Spend the first 10% of your time planning your day before you start. And you can save up to 90% of the time when you're actually doing the work. That could be 2 hours saved every single day.
2 hours. That's huge.
It is. And a really practical tip he gives is to think on paper.
Right.
Make your list the night before. It's not just about being organized, though. He says it engages your subconscious. Your brain kind of works on it while you sleep. You often wake up with more clarity or even solutions. Small effort, massive payoff.
I found that works too. Just getting it down on paper somehow makes it less daunting. Okay, so you've got the clear goal, you've got the plan. Now comes the tricky part, maybe the most critical, prioritizing. This is where it gets really interesting. Tracy pushes hard on apply the 80-20 rule to everything. The Pareto principle, right?
Right.
Basically, 20% of what you do gives you 80% of your results. We see this everywhere. But here's the mistake most of us make, according to Tracy. We procrastinate on that vital few. that top 10 or 20% of tasks that actually matter. Instead, we get busy with the trivial many, the 80% of stuff that doesn't really move the needle much. So the question for you listening is, look at your list right now. Can you honestly pick out your top 20%? Those are your frogs, your big ugly frogs.
Exactly. And principle 4, consider the consequences, helps you figure out which frogs are the ugliest, the most important. He cites Dr. Edward Banfield from Harvard, who found that long-time perspective was the best predictor of success. Basically, really successful people are thinking way ahead 5, 10, 20 years. And they make sure what they're doing now lines up with where they want to be then.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that long view helps you see what's truly important versus what just feels urgent right now. And this leads to what Tracy calls the law of forced efficiency. It's simple. There is never enough time to do everything, but there is always enough time to do the most important thing. We kid ourselves thinking we'll catch up.
Guilty as charged.
We all are. But you never really do, so you have to focus on what matters most. Tracy gives 3 killer questions to help you zero in. 1, what are my highest value activities? 2, what can I and only I do that, if done well, will make a real difference? And 3, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? Keep asking those, and you'll cut through the fog. You'll know your biggest frog.
Those questions are gold, instant clarity. Okay, and this next one sounds a bit weird at first, but it's actually brilliant. Creative procrastination. Look, everyone procrastinates. We all do it. Tracy says the difference between high performers and low performers isn't if they procrastinate, but what they choose to procrastinate on.
Be strategic about it.
Exactly. Deliberately put off the low-value stuff, he calls them tadpoles, so you have the bandwidth for the big frogs. This means getting good at saying no. Politely, clearly, but firmly saying no to things that aren't a high-value use of your time. And to make it super practical, there's the ABCDE method. You literally label your tasks. A tasks, must do, serious consequences if you don't. Those are your frogs. You even rank them A1, A2.
Right.
B tasks, should do, mild consequences. C tasks, nice to do, no real consequences if they don't happen. D tasks, delegate, get them off your plate. And E tasks, eliminate, just stop doing them. The rule is simple. You tackle that A1 task first thing, before B's, before C's. It's a system for deciding, not just listing.
It really is. And it takes the guilt out of procrastinating on the less important stuff, doesn't it? Because it's a conscious choice. Now, to really crank up your impact, Tracy talks about focus on key result areas and apply the law of 3. Your job, whatever you do, usually has maybe 5 to 7 core areas where you absolutely must get results. These are your KRAs. What's interesting is he says your weakest key result area often holds you back across the board. It's like a bottleneck.
Oh, okay.
So this leads to his great question. What one skill, if I developed and did it in an excellent fashion, would have the greatest positive impact on my career? Find that skill, and that's a really important frog to eat. And this links right into the law of 3. He tells this great story about a woman, Cynthia, who was just drowning in 17 different projects.
Wow, 17.
Yeah. So she used this idea, identified the 3 core tasks that delivered 90% of her value, and focused only on those. Delegated or dropped the rest. The result, in 1 month, she doubled her income and her time off.
Doubled her income and time off. That's incredible.
It's a powerful example of focus. And it brings up a broader point he makes. It is the quality of time at work that counts and the quantity of time at home that matters. Really makes you think.
Definitely does.
Yeah.
What a story. Okay, so we've identified the key frogs, the KRAs.
Yeah.
How do we actually get started and keep going, especially when things feel overwhelming? Tracy has some great advice here. First, prepare thoroughly before you begin. Clear your desk, get all your files, everything you need, have it all ready. He uses this image of a cocked gun ready to fire, no friction.
Sets you up for success.
Yeah. And he gives this great rule to fight perfectionism, which stops so many people. Get it 80% right and then correct it later. Just get it done, then refine. Don't wait for perfect. This also ties into take it 1 oil barrel at a time. Great visual. He talks about crossing the Sahara Desert. Apparently, the track was marked with oil barrels every 5 kilometers. You could only ever see 2. The one behind you and the next one up ahead. So the driver's just focused on reaching the next barrel. That's it. And by doing that over and over, they cross the whole desert. It's like the salami slice method, you know, or Swiss cheese. Break that huge task down into tiny steps. Just focus on the next barrel, the next slice, the next little hole. That first small step gets you moving.
Those small steps are lifesavers when you feel swamped. And, often procrastination isn't just because a task is big. Sometimes it's because we feel, inadequate. Like we don't have the skills. That's why upgrade your key skills is crucial. Tracy argues that continuous learning isn't optional. It's the minimum requirement for success today.
The minimum.
That's what he says, his advice. Read for an hour every day in your field. Take courses. Listen to audio programs when you're driving or commuting. Actively shore up your weak spots. It makes tackling those related tasks much less intimidating. And this flows right into identify your key constraints. What's actually holding you back? What's limiting your speed? Here's a kicker. Tracy suggests that 80% of the time, the constraint is internal. It's within us, our habits, our skills, maybe our fear, our disorganization.
80% internal.
Yeah. He tells the story about a company that thought their sales force was the problem. They spent a fortune on retraining, but the real issue, the real constraint, it was a mistake in how they priced a product buried in accounting. You have to find the right bottleneck, or you're just spinning your wheels fixing the wrong thing.
That's a huge takeaway. Look inwards first.
Okay, so skills upgraded, constraints hopefully identified. How do we keep the engine running, maintain that energy? Tracy covers this well. Maximize your personal powers. Love that phrase. He warns that overworking can mean underproducing. Burning out helps no one.
Our energy, physical, mental, emotional, that's the fuel. So rest is critical. He says take 1 full day off of rest, plan proper vacations, eat well, exercise. Basically, treat yourself like a high-performance athlete, because in terms of productivity, you kind of are. You need peak condition to perform at your best.
Absolutely. Energy is everything. And then there's motivate yourself into action, which is all about the inner game. You literally have to be your own cheerleader. Manage that voice in your head. He talks about developing learned optimism.
Learned optimism.
Yeah, consciously choosing to look for the good. Find the lesson in setbacks. Don't just dwell on them. Focus on solutions, not problems. Keep thinking about your goals. That positive internal chatter fuels action. It builds resilience. It's incredibly powerful.
Okay, then we hit a big one. A really big one for pretty much everyone listening. Get out of the technological time sinks. Oh man, is this relevant. Tracy talks about the compulsion to communicate incessantly, how tech can become an addiction. We feel like psychologically breathless.
Sound familiar?
Painfully familiar. Yeah. He tells this story, another great one, about a client who felt buried by email. With his secretary's help, they applied the 80-20 rule just to his inbox. Guess how much time he saved?
I dread to think.
23 hours per week.
23 hours just from email.
Just from managing email better.
Yeah.
Remember that story about the Fortune journalist? Came back from vacation, saw 700 emails.
Yeah. What did he do?
Hit delete all. Figured if anything was truly important, they'd email again or call.
Wow, gutsy.
Totally. The takeaway, create zones of silence. Turn off the dings, the notifications. Close the apps. Make technology your servant, not your master. You have to consciously reclaim your focus.
That is a battle worth fighting every single day. Okay, so pulling it all together. Clarity, prioritizing, energy. How do we make sure we execute? 2 final crucial principles. Develop a sense of urgency and single-handle every task. That sense of urgency. It helps you get into flow. That state where you're just fully immersed, super productive. It's about getting that do-it-now attitude. Build momentum fast.
Right. Get things moving.
And then single-handle every task. This might be the ultimate productivity secret weapon. Work on one task and only that task without stopping, without switching until it is 100% done. Tracy claims that starting and stopping can make a task take up to 500% longer. 5 times longer. Whereas single-handling, it can cut the time by 50% or more.
500%. That's staggering.
It really is. This is where self-discipline comes in hard. It builds character, he says, and it guarantees you actually finish what you start.
What a journey through Eat That Frog. It really does all circle back to that core idea, doesn't it? Identify your most important task, your frog, and just do it. First thing, no hesitation, no distractions. That one act seems to set the tone for the whole day. Creates momentum.
It does. And what's great about all these ideas, these 21 ways, is that they're not really complicated. They're accessible. Like we said earlier, they're learnable habits. They're skills you build. And if you practice them consistently, Tracy promises it can genuinely change your results, your career path, and even how satisfied you feel with your life.
So the message is clear. Take action. Now, just like the book says, don't just sit there looking at your frog. Sometimes the biggest changes come from those simple, consistent actions.
Absolutely. So let's leave you with this thought, thinking about everything we've just talked through, the clarity, the planning, the 80-20, the consequences, the single-handling. What is your biggest, ugliest frog right now? The one staring you in the face. And maybe more importantly, what's the very first bite you're going to take?